Success in the music business begins with a dream, a vision. This podcast will give you, the listener, the insight and tools to turn that vision into a reality. Meet the industry professionals who work day by day behind the scenes, helping to make those dreams come true. Welcome to the business side of music.
Hey, you're listening to this edition of The Business Side of Music with your host, Bob Bender. Once again, we have in our Nashville studio co-host and co-producer, Vinny Ribas. Vinny, how you doing?
I'm awesome. How are you doing, Bob?
Doing good. Still sweltering in Southern California, so I'm hoping the weather in Nashville's a little more accommodating.
Which tolerable.
Well,
We'll leave it at that.
Tolerable. Tolerable's good. So we've got a really a nice surprise today on the show. I actually had the opportunity to meet this artist a couple months ago, came by our place in Los Angeles, and we had a chance to chat for about, a couple hours it seemed like. Definitely never a dull moment with her. She's got a new album coming out, or maybe by now already has the album coming out and has another song coming out. But we'd like to welcome to the show Phenix. Thanks for being a part of the business side of music.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
When you and I chatted a few months ago, you handed me a 6-song EP, self-titled, and it's on your own record label, which is Understone Records, correct?
Yes, sir.
And so how's that project been going for you so far?
It's been going really well. Yeah, it definitely has been an introduction to the music that I've, grown into to this point, and it really reflects the beginning of Phenix, and been well received. It's been well received a lot, and I can't wait to drop some more music and hear people, feel out the rest of the story.
You have an interesting story, and if people have a chance to go to your website and check out, they're going to see that you're not the typical Nashville recording artist. You're more of I don't know how you would describe it, kind of a cross between rock and pop. Is that a good analogy of your music?
Yeah, that's close to it. I try to stay away from, any kind of boundary or label. I've kind of developed my own genre, and I call it Roxul Pop. ROXUL, and then pop.
Roxul
it's my
Pop.
blend of, so it's like rock and soul and pop combined, soul infusions, pop melodies, rock edges. But I also have a lot of hip hop and R&B influences that you can hear within the guts of the track just by the way that the bass moves and a lot of stuff that I make and producers I collaborate with. So it's definitely something that I feel like resembles so many different things, and so many people can find a likeness in it, whether you listen to any type of music, really. Which is, what I wanted to do with my genre and my direction as an artist.
I noticed when listening to your CD when you gave it to me, and I think you just said it, there's really, this music has no boundaries. And we've talked about this with some other artists too. Maybe not even pushing the envelope. Maybe it's just going in a totally new, different direction. That being said, you're working obviously with some other artists when you collaborate. We're going to talk a little bit about you working with Romeo Miller. Where do you get the ideas for your songs?
I love that you asked me that. I feel like I answer it a little different every time, but I think the best way to describe how I write in my process of writing is really just not getting in my way, if that makes sense. I think I stay out of my own way, and I kind of just kind of let what comes out. I don't really dissect much. I don't really try to overthink it. I never go into a song with a title or an idea of what I'm going to write about. I kind of just start it in the creative process, and we make everything from scratch. Whether I sit down with a producer and he just starts plunking a melody, and then I go with wherever the track takes me, and we wrap it up in about an hour. And that's kind of how I write when I'm on a piano or just in my head throughout the day. I really just flow with the sound and the music, and I let it pull out of me what it will. And it's really a humbling process, because I tend to learn a lot about myself and my internal feelings reading back on some of the lyrics.
And so with that being said, when you start constructing songs, are you the sole writer of this material? Do you co-write, or is it a little maybe combination of both?
I really just write them all by myself. A lot. So there's been times where I've co-written. None of those tracks have really made it out. I tend to just kind of, I don't know, I guess kind of hold that sacred, if that makes sense. I don't really co-write much.
Where do you see your music going? Where do you see your music going from an audience perspective?
Well, my live show is definitely a big part of my brand, because I'm really all about the energy, and I use this warrior movement as my standpoint to where I want to take the genre and where I want to take my brand and my image and my voice. My live shows are all about my audience interaction, and it's all about having them connect with it on an internal level by the theatrics and the intensity of the stage performances, like bringing them into my world and my realm of reality, and allowing them to be themselves within that and find connection in that, and whatever they're going through, they can see and they can feel the power to move through that. And that's really what I want to keep my music about.
I've seen your show, and you're absolutely right. I mean, you are all about the audience. You're one of the most dynamic performers. It's probably one of the most intense performances, and yet energetic and just exhilarating performances I've ever seen. And you come out dancing, and you've got dancers with you, and you have just an amazing stage show, amazing stage presence, and you're dressed like a warrior. And you mentioned the warrior movement. Tell me a little bit about that. What is the warrior movement?
The warrior movement is really, I've found so many things in my life through reflection that have really been placed significantly throughout my timeline, on this planet, that has shown me my true purpose through what I've went through. And just, like my father and my parents got divorced when I was 9, and it's been a really rough challenge, and it's been really hard. It's just been me and my sister, and she struggles a lot, and my father struggles, and I just started seeing everybody around me struggling, and I just decided I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to let anything that came in my past to destruct me, and I just chose to, it's really a choice, and it's a mentality, and so is happiness, and I just chose loving myself, and I chose finding a better way to live my life, and I chose not letting those moments, define me or break me, and instead let them rebirth me to my next level of power within myself, and in my spirit, and my mind, and my body, and in 100 other ways. And a lot of those people from my life growing up still struggle, and it's a choice, and they choose to let it define them. They choose to be a victim, really, and that's just, mentality that I see so many people suffer from it, and sometimes they don't even realize it. It's such an issue that is in every part of the world right now, and in any different thing you can just find it, through daily conversations. And I mean, I just want to use my music to, show people and empower people out of those moments in their life. And, it's just the way, and every time you go down, you're supposed to get stronger to get back up. And that's, it's about perseverance and mindset, and, really just accepting and loving yourself in those moments. That's what I think music is the most influential aspect and channel to do that through, because people can absorb the energy that you're putting out without even realizing it, and it can subconsciously seep into their life and change their train of thought, and that's so powerful.
I've always said that an artist has the ability to control, at least for a little while, if you're in a concert and you're watching an artist, that artist has the ability to control your emotions for 60 minutes or 90 minutes or whatever. And that's a responsibility for the artist. It's the same thing with listening to a CD. Absolutely. So yeah. I so appreciate the fact that you take that seriously, and you're working through your challenges with this music and everything, and I mean, basically putting it out there that, I've had struggles just like you, and we can make this happen. We can make things better together. I just appreciate the fact that you take that seriously, and you're out there encouraging people, because there's so much music out there that's just tearing people down, and
they don't even know it.
You refuse to go that way. That's right, and you refuse to go that path, and that's probably the most commercial path, but you refuse to go there. So I so appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. It really feels good to have somebody acknowledge and understand what I just said, because sometimes I feel like it can go over people's heads because it's, such a big statement, but it's such an important statement. And it's such a time to be alive right now. And as a millennial and as a millennial artist, just as the new wave of like what is going to lead this planet to whatever the rest of, 60, 70, 80 years has to come, like that's not something that should be taken lightly. And I don't want to say or do anything that has no substance. It'd just be a disservice to my community in the world.
That's quite admirable. I hope more artists understand that. The people that are listening to this understand the power that they have over people and how they can use their influence for good.
This is Bob Bender with Vinny Rebus and Phenix, and you're listening to this edition of The Business Side of Music.
You're listening to The Business Side of Music.
Hi, this is Vinny Rebus, the founder of Indie Connect. Our goal is to ensure that you have the knowledge, the tools, skills, resources, and connections that you need to develop a profitable and long-lasting career in music. One way we do this is through these Business Side of Music podcasts. I'd also like to invite you to check out Indie Connect magazine, our free multimedia online publication packed with practical interviews and advice from music industry experts. Go to www.indieconnectmag.com. That's www.indieconnectmag.com. Let us walk with you and guide you every step of your musical journey.
You're listening to The Business Side of Music.
Hey, we're back. This edition of The Business Side of Music. I'm your host, Bob Bender, with co-host, co-producer Vinny Rebus, and special guest today, Phenix. One of the things we touched on quite a bit is inspiring fans. A lot of people don't realize how much music can actually impact oneself, whether it's positive or it's negative. Talk about this every once in a while about you hear a song, you can't get it out of your head. It's that earworm. And, sonically, that's a good thing. But if the lyrics to the song have a destructive nature to it, that can also kind of get in there and influence your day. It can influence your life if you're not careful.
On a whole nother level, and I feel that weight every day. The other day I was actually going into my studio, and there was a room down the hall from mine, and I was, you can hear it sometimes on the hallway with, the other music in the other rooms, and because I have a shared space. But there's a bunch of different people that are working. So it's really cool. We've become a family with a lot of people around me, and everybody's just kind of pushing forward. And the other day I walked by and I heard this song playing. It's getting to the point for me as an artist where it starts to genuinely like hurt me and make me so angry when I hear wasteful words or words that do nothing but put people in a different mindset and feed into this image that that's just being encouraged these days. And there's a bunch of people just saying things that that they just think they're supposed to say, or that they think they have to say, or
and maybe don't even believe
they
in.
They're cool for saying that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you're rolling up in a 2-door coupe that's breaking down, and you're thinking about having a Ferrari and all this money, and like that's just not okay. And it got me so angry. Where I'll tell you, Bob, and I'll tell you, Vinny, I almost walked in the room and pulled out all of the electrical units. When I really wanted to say to them, like, if you're going to do this, if you're going to go out there and if you're going to say this and speak this music, please say something that's worth it. Please say something that will impact the generations for the better. We are defined by the music. Music defines generations. Music defines eras. I mean, on a whole nother level, like if you can't contribute to that with something with substance, please just stop. Statement.
No, seriously, I could not agree more. And I think, thank you for taking ownership of your music. I wish more songwriters, I wish more recording artists, more producers, and especially record labels and radio stations would take ownership of what they're playing. We seem to become so homogenized in our music. In one instance, we won't take risks, and I say we as an industry will not take risks on music for fear of offending somebody or a fear of alienating somebody. Yet on the other hand, we will play, a lot of crap on the radio with the intention of trying to please people. And I think we lose the focus of what really good music is and what really good music can be. Because you know what? It's out there. It's out there, and you can hear it all the time on the internet. And thank goodness for things like Spotify and Pandora and YouTube, to where artists, such as yourself, can get out there and get played and be discovered, create new fan bases, and get in front of, doing live shows with this amazing energy that we haven't seen in the past. And I think it's got to continue to grow.
Yeah. I mean, what a great time to be alive. What a great time to witness.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think from a music business perspective, and I think Hollywood is starting to feel the same thing now with streaming television online. We're being called on the carpet to produce some great stuff, because if we don't, somebody else is going to do it. That's the way it is. We're no longer the beholding to these big corporations, because independent artists can make it. And so that just gets back to what you said. You have to be responsible for what you create and get out there, because you know what? 60, 70, 80, 100 years from now, it's still going to be out there.
It's still going to be out there. It'll be out there forever. And it's a different time. It's a different time. And maybe that's why I haven't co-written a lot. I know it's a big thing here in Nashville, especially. I feel like I see a lot of people on my Facebook and people on my Instagram and writing sessions, there's a bunch of different things. But I just feel like they're just looking for the next way to say the same thing. And I don't feel like the importance of, I don't like to say revolution, because that's not exactly what I'm saying. Maybe a revolution within ourselves, maybe. But our outer worldly conflicts, like the conflicts that we face in this world in a bunch of different areas, are just outward projections of the conflicts that we have within ourselves. So we have to fix within before we can fix anything out in our environment. And I think that if more people had that mentality when they go into writing, they'd come up with a whole different product. But until I can find somebody that's on that wavelength with me, I won't sacrifice the quality of my music and my work.
Speaking of your music, let's play a bit of a cut off of your self-titled album. This is a song, Classic. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Classic is a good compliment to the album. It's a little different from some of the other things that I've morphed into now, and also the other music on the record. But it's really just a statement to, the mentality of putting it in perspective, like going to a club nowadays, which I don't do, but I have done that on less than a hand, like low numbers, like a couple times maybe in the last 5 years. And I just saw such behavior from, both sides, from male and female, and just how the interaction has grown, and how it's lost so much substance and so much self-respect. And it was really a statement to, like, wanting to go out and have fun, somebody taking it too far, like, and they don't even know you, and just, coming up to you and, feeling like they can grab your arm or go around, and just the outlandish lack of self-respect that is being depicted in clubs. And it was really just, about bringing classic back, about bringing, like, hey, don't walk my way and holler at me if you don't know my name. Don't come up behind me and tap me on the shoulder, or don't say something disrespectful to me, that you find like it's supposed to be a compliment nowadays, but it's definitely not a compliment. It's really a song that, the fun sounding, smooth, cool classic song, and it's really just about, bringing that mentality back, like that self-respect, like I keep it classic mentality.
Cold shoulder, you was in love, I was on my last dollar, shot collar, you was in luck, jamming to Nirvana, hot like a sauna, like $1 million, when he took it farther, I'm someone's daughter, baby hold up, got me going up, you know I keep it classic, the way you're coming at me, boy, it's just tragic. I ain't got time for a bad life and misleads. Got me going up, but you know I keep it classic. She's a washed up Rico, suave with the weak flow. Walk around the club like he need a Klondike and a hero. I'm dodging all the hashtags and the blurred lines, baby. I swerve and roll. Stunning with my glow stick, baby. I'm a sweet lick. I'm already gold. Got me going up, you know I keep it classic. The way you're coming at me, boy, it's just tragic. I ain't got time for a bad life and misleads. Got me going up, don't you know I keep it classic. Here's where we go down low. Here's where we go down low. And if you're gonna walk my way, you better call me by my name. Got me going up, you know I keep it classic. The way you're coming at me, boy, it's just tragic. I ain't got time for a bad life and misleads. Got me going up, but you know I keep it classic. Got me going up, you know I keep it classic. The way you're coming at me, boy, it's just tragic. I ain't got time for a bad life and misleads. Got me going up, but you know I keep it classic. Don't you know I keep it classic?
You're listening to the business side of music.
We're back. Bob Bender with Vinny Rebus and our special guest today, Phenix, talking about her project, a 6-song EP that we just heard the cut classic off of that. You know, you've worked with some different artists on your album, not necessarily co-writing, but performing on there. One of them, of course, is Romeo Miller that we'll talk about here. But another one of your cuts, and I got to tell you, the day that you and I met and my wife, we got in the car afterwards and headed back home, popped your CD in, we get handed a lot of CDs, as I'm sure Vinny does. If we're not entranced within the first 8 to 12 bars, we probably don't go much farther. And in your project, it was like, well, that song's really good. And then we play the next one. And then we play the next one. You know, if you could wear a CD out, I think we came close to it that day. I mean, it's a very powerful CD. And I think the words totally describe your feelings of what's going on. And so then that brings up, you know, another one of the songs, which is actually the first track on this album, called So Gone. How did that one come about? How did you create that song?
So Gone was one of my favorite tracks and definitely a monument in the groups of, you know, when you write a song, basically, like I feel like there's that one song that pretty much marks, you know, another sound or another wave in your evolution as an artist. That was one for me. And I walked in the house and I had this conversation with one of my friends, and he was like, you know, he's like, you need something that says what you want it to say, but says it in a way that, you know, even if people don't understand the depth of the lyrics, they still want to vibe with it and they still like it, you know, even if it takes a couple weeks of them listening to it to understand what you're saying. But then the people that, are listening for that and, can grasp what you're saying will grasp it, and you'll gain those fans on all spectrums. And I let what you said soak in, and I didn't really, I didn't sit down at the writing board and try to make myself think of anything. I really just walked into my house, and the first two lines came to me, and I was like, red lipstick on cherry cherry, and it just hit me, and I just ran, and it all just blew out of me, and I wrote it down. I probably wrote it in about 20 minutes, and I was like, wow, this is pretty powerful stuff, because a girl going to the club or a guy wanting to go out, they're going to think it's, I'm going to be so gone, and they're going to like really vibe with that. But really what I'm saying is, I'm going to fade off into this other place in this reality in my head that people can't see me because they don't, I don't know, they can't understand me, or they can't understand the world that I see. And that was really what I was going with that, and then the line where it's like, save my life, they'll be saying, save my life. I'm going to be so out there with my mindset, and it's going to throw a lot of people off. And that was kind of like for the people that think a little differently, for the visionaries, for the people that nobody understands, they're dreaming and they see something bigger. And that's what the song was about.
I like one of the things you said in the article that I read, where you said you definitely don't lyrically or structurally stay on the road of typical pop topics or design. That it gets back into again of how you write a song and what's in there. And I love where you said you're led by a movement. And I think that speaks volumes. And just keep going. Just don't be afraid to go out into that wilderness, so to speak, and plow new roads when you're finding music.
I appreciate that. I definitely it's just part of the wave, and I'm gonna be faced with decisions as my career grows. I rely on not necessarily analyzing situations, but I go purely off of feeling and my intuition, and that's what's guided me, and that's what made me get to Nashville instead of LA, and that's what's made me move on to Phenix, and in this funnel, and this everything that's ever come out of this and brought me to this point has been purely listening to my gut, letting myself step out of my way, because I really feel like it's not me. Like there's something inside, like my soul is channeling something so ancient, so far away. That's what I listen to. I listen to that voice, and I feel like I'm just blessed to be the face and the voice of the movement, and it's for the people. So I feel really hungry and motivated to bring that to the world on a large scale.
When we come back, I want to get into this one song that's not on the project that you did with Romeo Miller, but I also want to talk a little bit about your stage performance. So when we come back, I want to chat about that. This is Bob Bender with Vinny Rebus, and you're listening to The Business Side of Music.
You're listening to The Business Side of Music.
Hey, we're back. Bob Bender and Vinny Rebus, this edition of The Business Side of Music with our special guest, Phenix. This has just been an amazing conversation. I don't want to use the word enlightening because I don't think it's that, but and informative is too weak of a statement. You've got definitely some very powerful ideas and passion that is very deep, and I think that's so important. One of the things I noticed when I was reading an article on you, you kind of hit a soft spot with me, where you talk about that you perform with a Yamaha CP80 on the road on the stage. And that's definitely old school, girl. I gotta tell you, I didn't even know those types. I didn't even know those were even around anymore. That's going back to my days.
Yeah, it's so cool.
And of course, from what you said, you're eventually going to want to put the drum set on top of that and flames and.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I see so far into the future with that, and it's so cool because anything that is vintage or. Really everything retains energy. So to be able to sit at that piano and, I don't know the people that have played on it. I don't know its past, but I feel it's history, and it's so cool to be a part of its history. And I absolutely love it. I I found it on Craigslist one day randomly, and I don't know, I just had to have it. And, you know, it's a little rough around the edges, but it has so much character, and it has so many years left in it.
I think you really hit on something there that speaks a lot. When you find an instrument that speaks to you, you know, has a little bit of history or legacy to it, maybe it is a little bit rough around the edges, you know that a lot of great material has come out of this. You know, it just, for me, and I don't know if it's the same with you, you just warm up to it that much faster, and it's kind of like a nice comfortable sweater. You sit down and, you know, whether it's a great Fender Telecaster guitar or it's a Yamaha CP80 piano, you know, you feel at home with it. And to me, I would think that kind of opens up the locks of allowing the freedom of music to come out a little easier.
Oh, totally. No, I totally agree. Like, I don't have to worry about denting it or scratching it or nothing, even though, you know, I never really was scared about any of those things before. I love a little character on my equipment, and I mean, I have that. You know, people aren't perfect, so why would equipment be perfect? And yeah, it has its own personality. Like, I don't even know, just kind of looking at it some days, I feel its personality, and it's super cool to be around it, and to, you know, I plan on traveling with it until its last year for sure.
I want to talk about this song Ride. Now, you did this with Romeo Miller, and for those that wonder who that is, you know, he also goes by the name of Maserati Rome. He's a hip-hop artist. He's an actor. He had an outstanding basketball career, and even, like, made it on, like, the top 5 or whatever it was on Dancing with the Stars season 12. So this is definitely an entrepreneur on many levels. How'd you guys connect?
Well, I did a single release party about a couple years ago, and we had Ray J come out to host it, because it was a hip hop track that I'd done, and I even rapped on it. We met Ray J's manager, and he was like, man, I really love what Phenix was doing. You know, we got to do something on a collaborative level. He said, you know, a couple of artists that he represented, and we were like, oh, Romeo, like, that would be really cool. You know, I used to watch him growing up as a kid. So we got linked in, and we were like, man, we have this track, and I really just wanted to do something fun, because, you know, did a lot of things, and a lot of, you know, younger kids, and, you know, it was really, like, he's very family friendly, and, you know, he has a really humble energy about him. He's a really cool guy, really great guy. And so we're like, well, let's do something fun, you know, as a collaborative. Let's step out of, you know, kind of Phenix gets a little, you know, edgy and dark with what she's doing. Not dark, but just, you know, more on that theatrical spectrum. But I was like, you know, let's do something that's just, I got this track, I got this hook. Let's do something that's fun. Let's do something for the, you know, just a fun, good summer feel good song. And so I sent him this track, and I sent him my hook and everything, and he was just going to do one verse, but I guess he loved it so much he sent it back with 2, and he was like, this is awesome. And I've gotten the pleasure to hang out with him and go to dinner and do a lot of great things and talk about the future and just a lot of different aspects, and he's incredible.
We should mention that when he was growing up, he was Little Romeo. Lil.
Yeah.
Lil Romeo.
Little Romeo.
Yeah.
Lil Romeo. He had that show on Nickelodeon, which is really what, you know, blew him up. And his dad, Master P, is a hip hop mogul. Like, he's been around for years, and he definitely was an entrepreneur in the hip hop scene, and has grown himself and his label and his estates to, you know, more than a couple hundred, so million. And so, you know, Romeo is his son, and he actually runs the record label now, and he's doing his own thing. But I think he dropped an album recently, but I think really what he's been focusing on, like in the last 5 years or so, has been at his acting career. I think that's really where he, you know, because he can do whatever he wants, and he's good at a lot of things. So I think right now he's been focusing on acting. So it's been really cool to pop out with a song like this. I think it'll really do well, and he's behind it, and his team's behind it. So
let's listen to a little bit of Ride with Phenix and special guest Romeo Miller.
quick score, field goal, you long term, they rented, girl. I'm just trying to show you that it's no limit, girl. They say time is money, so I give you mine. I play my role just to see you shine. It ain't easy for you, I'm a rolling stone, but when I knock on the door, you know daddy's home. I'm like, damn. You keep me coming back in your life like a Venus. You put it down so good, got me fiending. Yeah. I'm on that red eye, down in Nashville. Got your bank account like a Mac still. You make me happy, girl, like the boy for real, for real.
Show some TLC, not a scrubbed up, just jets and tubs. You gotta give me more, but I'm a masterpiece. Like London, Rome, Paris, we gone all around the world. Not the type to stay home. Open roads and open toes. Got my baby with me and off we go. Yeah, a romance getaway. Popping bottles of champagne, hand in hand, never missing a thing. Boy, what do you say? All I'm saying is if you're playing, tell me now, boy, don't waste my time.
That big like acres. I ride in my city with you. Got a bad boy like Diddy with you. Let me paint a picture, I be good for you. Used to hate on you, now they root for you. Took you out the hood, let you rock my chain. Now A-list celebrities know your name. Hey, everything I do, everything I do, girl, I do it for you. I'm just trying to prove to you, you the only one for me, girl, you my boo. Girl, I got a coupe, we don't need no sedan. Only room for two, we don't need no friends. If with you, I go and get the Taliban. If you the superstar, girl, I'm your biggest fan. Swear.
Phenix, I got to tell you, this is, for me, it's been one of the more enjoyable broadcasts episodes, and I'm glad we had you on board. How can people find you?
You can find me on all social medias, Phenix Red Music. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and you can find me at phenixred.com. Again, I spell Phoenix without the O, so it's the Latin way. I'm obsessed with Latin. I just love that it's a language that's the root of everything, and nobody wants to learn it anymore, so someday I will. So you can spell it PHENIXRED music. You can find me at phenixred.com.
They can hear your music on there, catch up on all your upcoming touring dates.
Yeah, of course, and make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can check it out. It's youtube.com/phenixred. And yeah, make sure to subscribe and go to my website and subscribe to my newsletter as well.
Phenix, thanks for being on the show. It was a real pleasure to chat with you, and I think you've provided a lot of amazing information for our listeners out there. Thanks.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Vinny, always a pleasure to have you on the show. If you're interested in learning more about our show, drop us a line at musicpodcast@mail.com. That's musicpodcast@mail.com. If you have any suggestions of persons or topics that involve some facet of the music industry that you'd like to hear about on our podcast, please feel free to let us know. You can follow us on Facebook on the Business Side of Music podcast page. You can also find us on Twitter at Music Business Podcast. Also, if you're listening to this podcast on iTunes, post a review on what you think of our show. This is Bob Bender, and you've been listening to this edition of The Business Side of Music.
The Business Side of Music is the creation of Tom Sabella and Tracy Snow and is produced by Bob Bender for Bob Bender Productions. Co-producer for the show is Vinny Rivas. The Business Side of Music is recorded at Music Dog Studios in Los Angeles, California and Nashville, Tennessee. Production sound designed by Keith Stark. Voiceover and promo by Lisa Fuson.